Every day, your brain is being fed something. Thoughts, images, opinions, emotions. And what if I told you that most of it is slowly killing you? Not with pain, not with blood, but with quiet, invisible decay. It doesn't show up on a scan. It doesn't leave scars on your skin, but it drains your peace, steals your joy, and replaces your clarity with noise. It's a silent killer inside your own head. And the scariest part? You're re-feeding it yourself. You feed it every time you scroll without thinking. Every time you compare yourself to someone's highlight reel. Every time you drown your silence with meaningless noise. Every time you ignore what your body and mind are screaming for. Rest, focus, truth. You're not just scrolling. You're reprogramming. You're not just watching. You're re-injecting. You're not just reacting. You're re-surrendering. Because every click, every word, every song is a code written into the operating system of your mind. And your brain doesn't reject it. It accepts it. It adapts. And it rewires. Even if it's poison. This is how people lose themselves. Not in a single day, but moment by moment, scroll by scroll, thought by thought. And one morning, you wake up with anxiety you can't explain, anger that feels automatic, sadness that never leaves, confusion that clouds everything. You think something is wrong with you. You think you're broken. But the truth is darker. You've been trained into this version of yourself. Your brain has been fed lies until lies became your reality. And the most dangerous lie of all? That this is normal. That this is you. But it's not you. It's a version of you that was crafted by repetition, by exposure, by habits you didn't know were rewriting your soul. This video isn't just information. It's your wake-up call. Because if you don't start paying attention to what you're feeding your brain will keep feeding you. Pain, fear, confusion. And you'll keep thinking it's just life, just stress, just the world. But it's not. It's what's inside of you. And more importantly, what you allowed into you. It's time to star the lies and feed the truth. Because what you feed your brain today becomes a life you live tomorrow. Your brain was never built for this much stimulation. Every ding on your phone, every video that autoplays, every reel that ends before you can even blink is hijacking your nervous system. We call it content. We call it entertainment. But in psychological terms, it's dopamine overload. Every like, every notification, every scroll triggers a chemical rush in your brain. A hit of dopamine, just like a drug. And just like any drug, the more you get, the more you need. You're not enjoying it anymore. You're chasing the next fix. You don't scroll because you're curious. You scroll because your brain is screaming for stimulation. And here's the trap. The more you flood your mind with fast, shallow inputs, the harder it becomes to sit in silence, to read, to focus, to think. You've trained your brain to expect constant reward. But life doesn't work like that. Real growth is slow. Real peace is quiet. Real love is deep. But your overstimulated mind can't feel them anymore because it's too busy looking for the next hit. And while you're chasing dopamine, something else is happening. Your attention span is shrinking. Your stress response is rising. Your patience is collapsing. Why? Because your brain is under attack, not from outside, but from the habits you've accepted as normal. Think about it. When was the last time you sat in silence for 10 minutes? Without reaching for your phone? When was the last time you watched the sunset? Without trying to take the perfect photo? When was the last time you felt something? Without trying to distract yourself from it? The truth is, we don't know how to just be anymore. Because we're addicted, not to drugs, but to distraction. And this addiction is clever. It hides in plain sight. It disguises itself as being informed, staying connected, catching up. But underneath, it's burning your ability to be human. You're not supposed to feel anxious all the time. You're not supposed to be exhausted from doing nothing. You're not supposed to hate your own silence. That's not who you are. That's what you've been trained to become. And the modern world, it profits from that version of you. Because a restless mind is a spending mind, an insecure brain is an easy target, and a distracted person doesn't question anything. But here's the most haunting part. You're not just addicted to stimulation. You're afraid of what happens when it stops, because in that silence, the real you might speak. And you spent so long drowning that voice. You don't even know if it's still there. But it is. And if you want to break free, you have to disconnect from the noise, to reconnect with yourself. Because until you do, the world will keep hijacking your brain and calling it normal. Imagine this. You're exhausted. You know you need rest. But instead, you reach for your phone. You scroll. You tap. You binge another episode. Even though it's 2 a.m. Even though your eyes are burning. You're not stupid. You know it's hurting you. But you still do it. Why? Because your brain isn't chasing peace. It's chasing dopamine. Dopamine, the brain's pleasure chemical. But don't be fooled. It's not about happiness. It's about anticipation, craving, wanting. The trap is this. You crave what feels familiar, not what feels good. So if chaos is familiar, if anxiety is familiar, if pain is familiar, that's what your brain will seek. Even if it destroys you. It's like a toxic relationship with your own mind, and the more you feed it, the stronger the loop becomes. You check your phone for the 57th time, not because you're expecting something important, but because the silence is unbearable. You go back to the same arguments, the same toxic people, not because they deserve your time, but because part of you thinks you deserve the pain. This is not laziness. This is neuroprogramming. The brain wires itself around reward systems. When you feel low and distract yourself with stimulation, you teach your brain, avoid discomfort at all costs. But healing, growth, self-respect, they all live in the discomfort you've trained yourself to run from. Here's what no one tells you. Dopamine doesn't care if you're happy. It just wants more. So you eat when you're not hungry. You scroll when you're numb. You chase people who hurt you. You repeat habits that make you hate yourself. Because dopamine rewards repetition, not reflection. And unless you interrupt that loop, you will keep craving the very things that are killing you. And this is how people stay stuck for years, in cycles of self-sabotage, in relationships that drain them, in habits that numb them. They keep feeding the craving while starving the soul. But here's the secret. Your mind is programmable, and what's programmed can be rewritten. But first, you have to get honest, brutally honest. Ask yourself, am I chasing peace, or am I chasing escape? Because your answer will reveal everything. And only when you stop running from discomfort can you finally feel the freedom that dopamine can never deliver. You watch what you eat, but do you watch what your mind consumes? Every single day, you are feeding your brain, not with food, but with information, with thoughts, with energy, with emotion. And here's the terrifying truth. Your brain doesn't care whether it's good for you. It just absorbs whatever you give it. Think about this. You wake up, you immediately check your phone. Bad news, social media drama, people showing off lives that don't even exist. And you silently compare your pain to their filtered perfection. Before you've even brushed your teeth, your brain has eaten a full-course meal of anxiety, insecurity, and chaos. This is your mental diet, and it's killing you slowly. You consume negativity, but expect peace. You feed your fears, but expect courage. You scroll through envy, but expect gratitude. You don't realize it, but your thoughts are being hijacked. Hijacked by algorithms, by toxic conversations, by your own unchallenged beliefs. And the worst part? You've stopped noticing. Because just like junk food numbs your body, mental junk numbs your soul. You know it's making you sick. You know it's draining you. But you keep going back because it's easy, because it's everywhere, because your brain is addicted to the noise. You think, I'm just staying informed. But really, you're staying distracted. Now ask yourself this. What did you feed your brain today? Was it peace or poison? Was it growth or gossip? Did you learn something powerful or just scroll through someone else's drama? Because your mind is not a trash can. It's not meant to hold everyone's problems, judgments, or trauma. It's your temple, but you've let it become a landfill. And if you don't take control of your mental diet, someone else will. Clean your feed. Filter your conversations. Choose what you consume, like your life depends on it, because it does. The future of your mental health will be built on the content you feed it. Today, have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling completely drained, as if someone reached inside your chest and pulled out your energy bit by bit? No yelling, no fight, no obvious reason. But something inside you felt empty. That's not your imagination. That's not overthinking. That is an emotional parasite. And the terrifying part, they don't always look toxic. They're not always loud. They're not always obvious. In fact, they often wear the mask of a friend, a parent, even a lover. They feed on your guilt. They feed on your need to please. They feed on the cracks in your self-worth. And the more you give, the more they take. You become their emotional fuel, their psychic battery. And you think, if I just love them harder, they'll change. If I just give a little more, they'll finally see me. But they won't, because parasites don't stop on their own. They stop when you create boundaries. Here's how they operate. They interrupt your peace constantly. They guilt trip you for setting boundaries. They make their problems your responsibility. They disappear when you need help, but they expect you to always be there. And with time, they convince you that this is normal, that you're the selfish one, that you're the problem for finally saying enough. But here's the hard truth. Some people only love you when you're weak, because your strength threatens their control. It's not your job to fix them. It's not your job to carry them. Your energy is a currency. Stop spending it on people who bankrupt your soul. You were not born to be someone's emotional crutch. You were not made to shrink so others can feel tall. You are allowed to walk away, even if they're family, even if they cry, even if they call you selfish. Because protecting your peace is not selfish, it's essential. Start noticing who drains you and who restores you, because the people around you shape your thoughts, your mood, your life. Your mind is already fighting enough battles. Don't let it carry enemies disguised as companions. Clear the parasites. Claim your energy. And finally, breathe. You're always doing something. There's always something next. The checklist, the deadlines, the hustle. But have you ever asked yourself, why? Why does stillness make you anxious? Why does silence feel like failure? Because somewhere deep inside you, there's a voice that says, if you're not producing, you're not worthy. If you stop, you'll be exposed. If you rest, everything will fall apart. This is the illusion of productivity. It's the mask we wear to hide the hollowness inside. We live in a world that worships being busy. But busyness isn't always growth. Sometimes it's avoidance. Avoidance of pain. Avoidance of emptiness. Avoidance of the self. You stay busy because when the noise stops, you're forced to feel, and that's terrifying. So you fill your days. You chase goals. You grind, not because you love the work, but because you fear the silence. But here's the haunting truth. Some of the most successful people in the world are the most spiritually bankrupt. They have the money, the titles, the applause, but inside, they are starving. Because productivity without purpose is just distraction in disguise. Have you forgotten who you are without your achievements, without the likes, the followers, the calendar? You weren't born to be a machine. You were born to feel, to rest, to create, to connect. Here's what they won't tell you. Rest is productive. Reflection is progress. Slowness is strength. Doing less can bring you more clarity. But you have to be brave enough to sit in the silence, to face what's beneath the noise, to ask yourself, am I building a life or running from it? The mind will always push you to do, but your soul is begging you to be. You don't need to prove your worth through exhaustion. You don't need to chase validation through busyness. You are allowed to stop. You are allowed to breathe. You are allowed to just exist. And maybe, just maybe, when you stop running, you'll finally catch up to yourself. Every time you scroll, every time you tap, every notification you check, you're not just using your phone. It's using you. You think you're in control? That you're choosing what to see, what to read, what to like? No, you're being programmed. The algorithms know you better than your family. They know what excites you, what enrages you, what breaks you. And they use it not to connect you, but to control you. Studies show that the dopamine system in your brain, the same system triggered by drugs, is activated every time you get a like, a message, a reel. The brain starts craving it, needing it, obsessing over it. But here's the danger. This dopamine comes without meaning. It's cheap, it's fast, it's endless, and it's killing your focus, your peace, your ability to be present. You can't sit still anymore. You can't read a full page without checking your phone. You can't have a conversation without that itch to check what's happening somewhere else. But what's being stolen from you is far more terrifying than attention. Because when you're always watching others, you forget to see yourself. When you're constantly consuming opinions, you forget how to form your own. You become a reflection of whatever the feed tells you to be. You think you chose that outfit, that political view, that fear, that dream, or were they chosen for you? This is not just distraction. This is digital poisoning of the soul. Because the more time you spend in a world that isn't real, the more disconnected you become from the one that is. Your nervous system stays in a constant low-grade panic. You sleep less, feel more alone, judge yourself more. You chase perfection that doesn't exist. You compare your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. And deep down, you start to believe that you're not enough. But what if the real problem? I sent you? What if the system is designed to make you feel this way? Because insecure people buy more, scroll more, obey more. If you want to break free, you must first wake up. Turn the noise off, touch the earth, look someone in the eyes. Remember what it feels like to be human again. Because your brain wasn't meant to be a slave to a screen. You were built for depth, for silence, for love. And none of that exists in the feed. They say, you are what you eat. But what if that's only half the truth? Because you are also what you think. Your thoughts are not harmless. They are meals, and your mind is feeding on them every second. Where are you feeding it? Every complaint, every criticism, every replay of failure is a plate of poison served to your subconscious. And it eats, and it learns, and then it becomes. You become anxious, not because life is cruel, but because your mind is addicted to worry. You feel hopeless, not because you have no power, but because your thoughts have been fed a diet of doubt. You can't focus, not because you're weak, but because your attention span is starved from overfeeding on distraction. Thoughts are not whispers. They are architects. They shape what you believe, and what you believe shapes what you see. Let me give you an example. Two people wake up in the same world. One sees opportunity. The other sees threat. What's different? Not reality, perception. And perception is shaped by what you feed your mind. If you start every day with noise, drama, fear, What do you expect your mind to build? A castle of peace? Or a prison of panic? Your mind is not designed to filter out garbage. It consumes everything, and it turns it into belief, behavior, and biology. Yes, your thoughts affect your body. Chronic stress rewires your brain. Negative self-talk boosts cortisol. Even your immune system collapses under the weight of constant mental junk food. So, why do we treat mental input like it doesn't matter? You wouldn't eat trash every day. Why let your mind do it? It's time to go on a mind diet, not one of empty affirmations or fake positivity, but a real radical reset. Consume thoughts that empower. Read things that challenge. Surround yourself with voices that don't echo your fear, but call you toward your potential. Speak words to yourself that you would offer to a broken friend. Stop feeding your inner critic. Stop binging on regret. Stop sipping on the slow poison of comparison. Because what you feed, you grow. If you keep feeding your pain, it will take root. But if you start feeding your power, the part of you that still believes, still tries, still hopes, it will rise. And one day soon, you'll look in the mirror and see, not the person the world tried to break, but the one your thoughts finally rebuilt. You live in the most connected time in history, a world of constant information, infinite scrolling, and never-ending updates. And yet, you feel empty, lost, anxious, starved, not for food, not for connection, but for meaning. This is mental malnutrition, a starvation that doesn't happen in your body, it happens in your soul. Your mind is being flooded every second with things that look important but mean nothing. Headlines designed to trigger, videos designed to addict, opinions designed to divide, algorithms that feed you anger, not answers. You're not consuming knowledge. You're being consumed by noise. And like a diet of sugar and caffeine, this mental junk spikes your energy, then crashes your purpose. You don't need more content. You need clarity. You don't need more voices. You need your own voice back. Because here's the hidden cost of mental malnutrition. You forget what you believe. You forget what you love. You forget what you were meant to become. When you are constantly reacting, you stop reflecting. And without reflection, there is no growth. Think about it. When was the last time you sat with your own thoughts? No music, no scrolling. Just you in silence? When was the last time you asked yourself, what do I actually value? What is worth my energy today? What pain is mine and what pain have I borrowed? You are not broken, but your mind is underfed of truth, of stillness, of real, deep understanding. You don't need to become someone new. You need to remember who you were before the noise. Feed your mind with intentional thought. Read things that stretch you. Write what you're afraid to say. Disconnect from the world long enough to reconnect with yourself. Because the world isn't starving for content. It's starving for wisdom. And you are starving for peace. But peace doesn't scream. It whispers. So turn down the volume on the world. And finally, listen. Your mind is not just a machine. It's a living system of beliefs, fears, stories, and loops. And right now, it's likely running a program you didn't choose. A mental code written by your past, your pain, and your environment. But here's the truth. You can rewrite it. Reprogramming isn't some mystical process. It's a decision, a war, and a return to power. So how you begin? Step 1, awareness. You cannot change what you don't see. You must observe the pattern, not judge it. Catch the thought when it rises. I'm not good enough. People always leave. I'll fail again. Stop. Name it. Track its origin. Ask, whose voice is this really? Step 2, interrupt. The pattern wants you to repeat it. Dot. Stand up. Say something different. Write a new script. Even whispering, this is not me, can break a cycle. Step 3, replace. You can't just delete code. You must write new commands. Instead of, I'm broken, say, I'm learning. Instead of, no one sees me, say, I see myself, and that is enough. Step 4, reinforce. Rewiring takes time. So repeat, every day, write it, speak it, feel it, even if your voice shakes. Because emotion plus repetition equals new reality. And then there's a final piece. Step 5, environment. You cannot heal in the same place you were broken. Sometimes it's not your mind that's sick, it's your surroundings. Audit what you consume, who you trust, what voices you let echo inside you. You are not just reprogramming your brain. You're re-choosing what future you get to live. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to erase your past. But you do have to take responsibility for the story you tell yourself now. You are not helpless. You are powerful. And the moment you realize that the pain you feel was never your fault, but your healing is your responsibility, that's the moment you become free. You made it this far. And maybe right now, your mind feels heavier, like it's holding pieces you never wanted to carry. Memories, beliefs, shadows. But hear this, your mind is not the enemy. It's the house where every version of you still lives. The child who was scared, the teen who was angry, the adult who tried and failed and tried again. You are not broken. You are layered, wounded, yes, but still here. You don't need to escape your mind. You need to understand it. Because within its chaos, there's a map, and that map leads back to your power. You were never meant to live a life controlled by fear, by the ghosts of old voices, by a system that told you, this is just who you are. You are not your anxiety. You are not your depression. You are not your failures or your family's expectations. You are the one watching all of that, the observer, the chooser, the one who can change the script at any moment. And maybe that's what real freedom is. Not the absence of pain, but the presence of choice. To feel fear and move anyway. To hear the old voices, but not obey them. To look in the mirror and see yourself. Finally. So now the question is not, what's wrong with me? It's, what will I do with the truth I now see? Because now you know, the programming can be broken, the story can be rewritten, and the life that once felt trapped can become a life of purpose. This is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of the one you finally choose to write.